Hello, everyone. Happy holidays. It's Dr. Marty Ross here with another Conversations with Marty Ross MD. This is our last webinar of the season, or of this decade. Actually, I just started thinking about it. We have a new decade that begins January 1, and I won't be doing any more until after that time. So I'm glad to see a number of people here. We actually have a small turnout tonight, which I expected because of just having it be holiday time and people out probably wrapping up their shopping for the holidays. But so I'm glad to see the number of people here. Who knows? Maybe I'll be able to get through every question tonight. And we'll go home early. You never know. But I'm glad to take your questions as long as you have them. And so the way that those of you that are new to the webinars, the way these work, you create them. Create them each week with your questions. And so you write your questions to me over here on the bottom side of the screen. Over the right-hand side is a chat box that you can write your question to me. The only thing I ask is as you write your question, do not hit the enter key until the whole question is done, okay? And the reason is if you hit an enter key while you're writing the question, it sends the question to me in multiple pieces, all right? Now, during the webinar, for those of you that are here in the live version, I will actually post your question on the screen. If, however, you happen to be participating in the recorded version, you won't be able to see that. So during the webinar tonight, I will read those questions to you as well, okay? Now, for those of you that happen to miss something while you're participating in this live webinar, don't worry, I'm having it recorded. And tomorrow morning, you'll get an email from me that says, guess what? You got a recording. And it will tell you how to find that recording. But if you miss that email, what you can do is you can find a copy of this recording on the homepage of my Lyme information site, which is at treatlyme.net. You can find it on the homepage of my Marty Ross MD supplement store, which is at treatlyme.com. You could find it on the homepage of my medical practice, which is martyrossmd.com. And you can find it on my FaceTime page as well, too, which is facebook.com/treatlyme. Okay, so there's plenty of places to find the recording if you happen to miss it. It's also on my YouTube channel as well, too. All right. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump in and get started. Let's see here. All right. Hello, Marta. Let's see. Hello, Dr. Ross. Thank you for all your hard work. You're welcome. I have two questions. First one regarding stomach burn. My husband was using alcohol tinctures for Bartonella. Last month, he started 2 antibiotics, rifampicin and azithromycin. He started having stomach burn. Would you recommend anything to calm it down or some measures for that as we just started antibiotics? Should we as well switch to glycerin tinctures in this situation? Second question. Did any of your Lyme Bartonella patients experience pain on the side of the head and numbness in one hand while thinking intensely? All right. So let me answer your last part of that question. I can answer all those parts though, okay? So first of all, I haven't seen anyone with that specific symptom complex, all right? But Lyme presents its own unique ways in everyone. So just because I haven't seen it doesn't mean it's not possible, okay? All right. All right, second part to your question is, or the second part about stomach burning. So, you know, the alcohol tincture sometimes can be hard on a stomach lining. Of the rifampicin and the azithromycin, generally the azithromycin is tolerated well. Sometimes the rifampicin, also known as rifampin, can sometimes lead to some nausea and irritation too. What I'd suggest you try to do, there's two options. Number one, continue with the alcohol tinctures as well as the rifampicin and the azithromycin. And what you can do is to try to provide a protective coating of the stomach layer so it's not irritated by the acid nature of these medicines. And the way you could do that is to work with something called deglycerated licorice. These would be tablets that you would chew. It's also known as DGL, but deglycerated licorice. If you chew licorice tablets, what happens is your saliva mixes with chemicals in the licorice and it creates a microscopic gelatinous coat, if you will, that coats the food pipe and can actually coat your stomach lining as well too, okay? So you might want to experiment with that. Usually it's going to be chew 2 capsules about 15 minutes or so before meals, or another way to do it, you could actually do it, chew 2 capsules about 15 minutes before you take your medicines, okay? So you've got yourself covered and coated. Okay, that's one option, all right? No, that doesn't decrease your absorption of any of those medications at all, okay? Second option that you could consider doing would be to change over to the glycerin forms of these tinctures. I will let you know, though, the glycerin forms, although less irritating, sometimes are not quite as active because what happens is you get a better extraction in alcohol tinctures of the active chemicals in the herbs than what you might get out of a glycerin extraction. Okay, all right. So those are some options for you to take a look at. Okay. Let me just do a quick screen share here. I'll try to show you the products that I would recommend for the licorice here. All right, so this is my supplement store. If anyone's looking for sources for some of the supplements that I recommend, anyone can buy from here. This is a store that my patients go to. And what I've tried to do is select items here, take the guesswork out of it. I've picked high quality products that have a proven track record of working and also have a proven track record of actually having the ingredients in them that they're supposed to have. Okay. So for licorice, take a look at, you would type in, you could either put licorice up here or you could put in rhizinate. Let's see if that shows up. There you go. So there's two products I have. There's one that's sugar-free and one that has a little bit of sugar in it. And it is this product called rhizinate. That's your licorice tablets. Okay. All right. Let me go back here. All right. There we go. All right. Thanks, Marty, for that question. Good luck to you. Hello, Barbara. Dear Dr. Ross, this is Barbara writing. I just got back from trip to Berlin, Germany. So this is mainly how to get my best wishes over to you for the season, for the new year, and that opening of your office will run smoothly, and that I get to consult you at some point in the next year. All good wishes, Barbara. Barbara, I know who you are. I know you didn't put your last name down here, but I appreciate that. So thank you very much. And I'm glad you're back, and I hope you had a good time when you were traveling. Hello, Irina. Let's see. Happy holidays, Dr. Ross. Thank you. You too. Let's see. What is the most effective treatment for Babesia today? How long does it take on average to eradicate protozoa? And what is the success rate in your clinic? Also, what to do with the severe case of methane hydrogen SIBO if rifaximin neomycin failed? Thank you. Okay. So Babesia is interesting. Some of it depends on where you got your Babesia as to whether the standard ways of treating are going to be effective. So I know Dr. Richard Horowitz, who many of you know has written quite a bit about Lyme, is now saying that he believes in his practice in the Hudson Valley out in New York State that most of the standard antimalarial medicines that we might use to treat Babesia, he thinks are not working anymore. That has not been my experience, okay? My experience still says that the antimalarials work, but it may be a different experience that I have out here on the West Coast here in the United States, okay? So my favorite Babesia regimen is to use something called Malarone, one pill twice a day, which is a mix of something called atovaquone with proquenil in it. Proquenil is a quinine derivative. And I like to combine it with either a tetracycline like doxycycline, 100 milligrams twice a day, or a minocycline, 100 milligrams twice a day, or clarithromycin, which is Biaxin, 500 milligrams twice a day, or I like to combine it with azithromycin, 500 milligrams one time a day. Okay, it's just an easier regimen to take. Now, if that doesn't work, there are many other options that a person has, including herbal options. And those herbal options that tend to be my favorite would be to use something called Cryptolepis, which is an herb that comes to us out of Ghana, Africa, where they were using it to treat malaria quite effectively. And that's where we got the idea to use it. Okay. And that's 5 milliliters 3 times a day. And I like to combine it sometimes with another herb called artemisinin. And the artemisinin, the way I have people dose it is I have them take it 3 days in a row, and then they are off of it for 11 days. So you do 3 days on, 11 days off. there's different reasons to do that. Basically, the germs learn resistance to the artemisinin if you use it every day. Okay, so you get a better kill if you can, when they can learn resistance. Number two, the liver tends to start detoxifying it more quicker the longer you've been exposed. So you need to stop to let the liver stop detoxifying it so the drug levels will build up again. Okay, the way that I dose the artemisinin, it comes in 100 milligram capsules. I usually have a person start at 2 pills 3 times a day for 3 days in a row, off for 11. If they don't get clobbered by that, the next time I have them work up to 3 pills 3 times a day for 3 days on, and then 11 days off. And if they don't get clobbered again, 4 pills 3 times a day for 3 days on, 11 days off. And then finally, if they can get up to it, I would go to 5 pills, 500 milligrams, 3 times a day for 3 days on, 11 days off. Okay, so that's another idea to consider as well too. Okay, but yes, I still think Babesia is treatable. I may have a different experience what Dr. Horowitz has out in his practice, but I still find it very treatable out here. And I'm not sure fully what he's doing, why he can't get it treated. It may just be he thinks there's a lot more resistance out on his part of the country. Okay, all right. Then in terms of SIBO, SIBO is kind of complicated. So SIBO, everyone, stands for small intestine bacteria overgrowth. And what this means is that bacteria that we'd ordinarily find living in the large intestines sets up shop in the small intestines. And a common symptom of it is getting a lot of gassiness and bloating near the time you eat, if you just balloon up right away. All right. Now, the issue with SIBO is not only do you get this bloating and gassiness that you get, it's that it's another source of chronic infection that also adds to all the other chronic infections you have in Lyme and just adds to the illness by increasing the immune system's production of a group of chemicals called cytokines. All right. Now, many of you know in my webinars that I talk about cytokines all the time. All right. So, and why do I do that? Well, cytokines are why you don't feel good. So if you have Lyme, white blood cells see the germs, or if you have SIBO, white blood cells see the germs, or if you have too many yeast in your intestines, white blood cells see the germs, or if you have mold toxins in you, white blood cells see the toxins, and guess what they make? Cytokines, okay? Cytokines are good, and cytokines are bad. On the good side, cytokines help turn on the immune system to deal with a problem, all right? But if the immune system is having a hard time doing that, it's going to try harder and harder, and eventually it's going to make too many cytokines. And too many cytokines give you those symptoms that we call Lyme symptoms, okay? So hard time thinking, fatigue, interference with our hormonal system's work, insomnia, all those hurting all over, all those symptoms that we call Lyme symptoms are almost identical to mold toxin symptoms, are almost identical to SIBO symptoms sometimes, are almost identical to yeast overgrowth in your intestine symptoms, because they all lead to too many cytokines being produced, okay? So if you're somebody that's gassing up really easily when you eat, then it might be worthwhile looking for SIBO. The way that we test for SIBO is we have you do a breath test. We have you drink lactulose, which is a sugar, and then we have you breathe over either a 2 or 3 hour period into different tubes and collect the gas that comes off, okay? And then we're looking to see, do you have elevations of either hydrogen or methane gas? And if you get marked elevations of hydrogen or methane, it means you have too many of these bacteria living in your intestines, all right? Now, hydrogen-producing SIBO is fairly straightforward to treat. Usually 2 to 3 weeks using just this medicine called Xifaxan, which is a prescription medicine that stays just in the intestines. About 2 to 3 weeks usually is going to be enough to get rid of your hydrogen-producing SIBO, okay? Methane producers are a lot harder to get rid of. And the treatment that is generally recommended is to do a combination of the Xifaxan along with neomycin, but you need to do it almost 2 months in a row, okay? So even though you said you failed treatment, the question I would have is, did you do it long enough, all right? So the way I would go after that is at least 2 months of Xifaxan, 550 milligrams twice a day in an adult, and neomycin, 500 milligrams twice a day also. And I would almost use those two continuously over a course of at least 2 months, all right? Now, if I've got somebody that fails that, then I'm going to start looking at herbal options to either add to a Xifaxan a neomycin, or maybe I just might do a neomycin along with herbal options. Okay, there's different ways you can go, but one of my favorite herbal options to treat SIBO is to use Biocidin, an herbal medicine mix called Biocidin. Biocidin's got a number of herbs in it that are useful against the bacteria in your intestines. They also break down biofilms. Interestingly enough, Biocidin's got good evidence it treats Lyme as well too. Okay, now Biocidin's a proprietary mix. It's a product that's made by a company called Biobotanical Research, and it comes in a number of varieties. Okay, so one variety is a product called Biocidin LSF, which stands for liposomal formula. It comes in a little pump bottle. All right, that's the kind you want to use if you're trying to treat Lyme, because you having it mix as a liposomal formula increases its absorption into the bloodstream where it can get to where Lyme is. All right. The other two ways you can get it, though, are Biocidin capsules or Biocidin liquid drops. Either one of those is what you would want to use for SIBO. And the reason you want to go with one of those over the LSF form is you don't want the stuff that absorbed into the bloodstream. You want it to stay in the intestines. Okay. All right. And so you would use it in the intestines, and you can combine that with a neomycin, or you can combine that with a neomycin and a xifaxamine to treat longer if you need to. But so again, first up, make sure you treat it longer with your xifaxamine and neomycin. If you did and you still got it, then I'd go back in again, probably with the xifaxamine, neomycin again, and this time add the Biocidin to it. Okay. Now, some people have a lot of success treating SIBO, or you'll read about it using using oregano oil. Okay. And you're going to find that in the Biocidin, basically. Okay, so that would be what I would do. Let me do a screen share here to show you information about that and the dosing you would use for SIBO. So let me do that real quick. Oh, let's see here. All right, so I'm going to go over, this is my Lyme disease information site. And I have written an article in here about Biocidin. All right. And so if you scroll down in this article, you'd want to scroll down to this section. First of all, I talk it can be used to treat SIBO right here. Okay. And then in terms of dosing, you can use the liquid or the capsules. If you're going to do the liquid, you start at 2 drops on the tongue 3 times a day. And increase every other day by 1 drop per dose till you reach 10 drops 3 times a day. Okay. On the capsules, you want to start at 1 capsule 2 times a day, and after 2 days, increase to 1 capsule 3 times a day. Every 2 days, add 1 capsule till you reach 2 capsules 3 times a day. Okay. Those are the kind of ways that you would go about dosing it. All right. But I do like this product in terms of the. I always have to look up the product list here. Bear with me here. So in terms of what is in it, where did I put the list of what's in it? I like that. I don't think I put it up here at the top. Let's go look at what's in it. I should have add that to my article. So let's look it up here. Okay, so this formula is actually in any of them. Okay, but basically it's got bilberry extract, noni, milk thistle, echinacea, golden seal, shiitake, white willow, garlic, grapefruit seed extract, black walnut, raspberry, fumitoid, gentian, tea tree oil, galbanum oil, lavender oil, and oregano oil. That's what I was looking for, is oregano oil in here. But anyhow, these volatile oils and the grapefruit seed extract and the garlic are going to be your good germ killers for the SIBO. Okay? All right. All right. I think I'm back here. Yeah. There you go. Good luck to you, and thank you for that question. Hello, DJ. Let's see. Happy New Year, Marty. You're welcome. Good. Happy New Year to you too. A little bit early, but yes. Wondering if there are any alternative therapies for speeding the healing of bone fractures that you recommend. I fell on ice and fractured my pelvis and acetabulum. No surgery. I know there are ultrasound therapies, but I once had a sound therapy treatment for Lyme, and I felt it knocked the Borrelia out of my joints and back into the active infection. I don't know of anything that helps to speed that recovery. Unfortunately, I don't have an idea off the top of my head for you on that. Okay, sorry about that. Good luck to you though. Hello, Barbara. Hold on here just a minute. Do you recommend oxygen treatment for chronic Lyme disease? I did have several sessions of fever treatments a few years ago in the hope it would kill the Borrelia. I felt better, but of course there must have been a high rate of survival of these invaders. And let me just talk about, hyperthermia, which is what you had a number of years ago, I think can help, but I don't think it eradicates the germ. So the idea with hyperthermia is if we heat you up to really high temperatures, I think is almost up to 107 degrees or so, that is a range that it can actually kill germs. And where we learned to do that was when we used to treat syphilis in the days before antibiotics, and it was a treatment that would work for syphilis, okay? Syphilis is a spirochete, just like Lyme is a spirochete. So sometimes we look at other spirochete illnesses to see if we can find a way to treat. Now, one of the main clinics that does this is a clinic in Germany that claims on its website that it thinks it can actually kill all the germs with the hyperthermia. And I just don't see it. I think they're overstating the success of what they do. Partly the reason that people may even get better in that clinic is that also they are doing IV antibiotics at the same time people are getting hyperthermia. And when you use IV antibiotics and you're heated up, that heat dilates up the blood vessels in your body. And when your blood vessels are dilated, that means that the antibiotics can get deeper into the tissues where Lyme is hiding. Okay, so that can be quite helpful. And so what you'll see with that is you may be getting better killing just because the germs can get further into the tissues. My experience with people that do the hyperthermia treatments, whether it's down in Mexico or whether it's over in Germany, is about 30 to 40% do have benefits, but often those benefits decline over time, and eventually they need to get back into treatment again. I just don't think we see sustainable improvements. I will also tell you that there's a program called My Lyme Data out in at LymeDisease.org in California. Has a big data research project that they have going on, which is called My Lyme Data, where people that have Lyme allow information to be collected about them. And last year, I believe they published a study where they looked at alternative treatments and do people get better with alternative treatments, okay? And what their studies showed, and so they asked people, do you get better? How many of you get help? And I believe with the hyperthermia treatments, it wound up being only about 30 or 40% expressed some benefit from doing that, okay? So it's nothing that I find to be sustainable. I don't think that what the clinic in Germany claims is actually fair and valid. I don't think it kills every germ wherever they hide in your body. I just don't think that the hyperthermia does that, okay? All right. Then, in terms of oxygen, so one way to do oxygen therapy is to do something called hyperbaric oxygen, which is where you breathe in oxygen while you are under high pressure in some kind of a hyperbaric dive tank, okay? We seem to think that better pressures to do this is to dive to what's called a 2.4 atmosphere dive. And you want to be in there for about an hour, and the most effective would even be to do 2 treatments a day for a minimum of about 20 treatments to see if it's going to give you any benefit. Now, hyperbaric oxygen was all the rage, maybe about 10, 12 years ago when I was newer to treating Lyme disease. And because we really thought it was going to do 2 things. Number one, repair neurologic damage, because hyperbaric oxygen has been shown to help improve nerve function and repair damaged nerves, okay? The second reason that we were doing is we thought it could kill germs. We thought oxygen under high pressure would kill germs, okay? most of those high pressure tanks that existed were eventually shut down because we just did not see universal benefit from doing it. These days, about the only reason I recommend hyperbaric oxygen is if I've got somebody with severe neurologic dysfunction and we've been treating for Lyme and we're just not getting their neurologic function back, I might use hyperbaric oxygen mainly to help improve the nerve function or repair nerves. So there's a phenomenon called neuroplasticity, the plastic nervous system, the nervous system that can repair. And it can, but hyperbaric oxygen is one way to do that. And so those are the situations I tend to do hyperbaric oxygen in these days. Okay? All right. Thanks for that question, and I hope that answers it for you. Good luck to you. So I'm going to just do a quick screen share here because I want to look at that my Lyme data with you at the same time. Bear with me here. All right, let's see. So let's see, my Lyme data, alternative medicine. Let's see if that'll pull it up for us. That's if I can spell. Here it is. Okay, so this is the my Lyme. I keep trying to say my lame data, but my Lyme data. All right, so if we look here, hyperbaric oxygen, for instance, okay, which was your question, their data says that it helps about 22% of people to have good improvements or moderate improvements, okay? That's hyperbaric oxygen. I would say that probably reflects my experience too, okay? The other question about hyperthermia, that just my comments I was making on that, actually this is interesting. Their data says maybe about 45% of people either had very effective improvements or 31% or 31% were moderate effective. Okay, so overall, maybe 45% had moderate to very effective improvements. All right, that's a little higher than what I see in my practice because I think what I see is that yes, maybe about 45% do experience improvements, but that stuff is not sustainable over time. Eventually, people get back into full illness. Okay. But this is a good website to look at if you're wanting to look at how effective are alternative treatments. My review of this my Lyme data on this subject is that this pretty much accurately reflects what I see in my practice as well too. Okay, all right. All right, there you go. So thank you for the question. Hello, Heather. Hi, Dr. Ross. What do you think of the organic acid test from Great Plains? What information does it provide? I ask because it's expensive and wonder if it will help with treating my nutritional deficiencies and hormonal imbalances. I only use it for one reason if I'm going to use it. And so I'll comment about that. So I'm using it if I'm having a hard time figuring out if somebody has too many yeast. And so when it comes to finding out if somebody has too many yeast, we don't really have a good, reliable test. If you do stool cultures, they don't really accurately reflect what your yeast load is. We can use screening questionnaires, which I do, and I go by those. But if I use a screening questionnaire and I still think somebody has yeast, but I can't tell for sure from the screening questionnaire, then I'm going to do a urine organic acids test. And what I'm going to look at is one that is in that panel called an arabinose test, okay? Arabinose is an organic acid that is elevated and is pretty reliable at indicating whether you have too many yeast living in your intestines. At this point, I don't use organic acid testing for any other reason, and so I cannot comment as to whether it's valid or helpful for nutritional analysis and all that. It's just something that I haven't done, okay? All right. Anyhow, that would be my comment. I'm afraid I'm not the best source of information on the organic acid test other than I would use it for that one reason, okay? All right. Thanks for the question, Heather. Hello, Brenda. Let's see. Hello, Dr. Ross. Thanks for all you do. You're welcome. You're welcome. Hello, Irina. Again, let's see. Happy holidays, Dr. Ross. Oh, we've already answered this one. I think you may have posted that twice. Hello, Eileen. Hi, Dr. Ross. Thank you for all you do for us Limeys. You're welcome. My pleasure, actually. I'm so glad you are back in practice. Me too. So I've been practicing now for about 3 weeks, and I'm enjoying doing this again. It's been nice to help people directly again instead of just writing articles. And so I'm enjoying being back here again. Let's see. Diagnosed with Lyme 6 years ago. 1 year of pulsed antibiotics. No further treatment until started following your protocol for BART. Was progressing but had symptoms of yeast. Added your spore probiotics, more herxing. Stopped everything for a while. Started fluconazole. Can't take nystatin. Been on it nearly 2 weeks, having significant pain and weakness in the left calf and knee. Sitting or lying down with leg out straight alleviates the pain. Was going to add the Capri Plus, but not certain if this is herxing or side effects of the fluconazole. I'm quite sensitive to many, if not most, drugs. What do you think? I have not, bear with me, I just want to look at one more thing here. I haven't seen anyone get significant pain or weakness in the left calf only when they were on fluconazole. Generally, if this was a herx reaction or even a side effect, I would expect it to be affecting not only one area of your body, but other areas of your body in a similar fashion, okay? So the question it raises with me is there another injury that happened to your calf? That's just a question I have, all right? One thing you could do to see if it is fluconazole related, though, would be to stop the fluconazole for a couple days. See if it goes away. If it does go away, you probably have some kind of an odd fluconazole side effect. And I say odd because I wouldn't expect this, okay? But there is a rule in medicine that I have. And my Marty Ross MD rule in medicine is anything can happen to anyone with anything, okay? Now you got that? Anything can happen to anyone with anything, because I have seen some crazy side effects that I would put a person on a medicine and they would get something I didn't expect to happen that did not have a rational explanation, and then we'd stop that medicine and guess what? It would go away. And so that's the only way you're going to test to see is this a side effect, is stop the medicine for 2 days, see if it goes away, okay? If it doesn't go away, then you may have injured your leg in another way. And you might want to see your primary care doctor, see if they can examine you and help you figure out what's going on with that, okay? And in that kind of situation, I would probably proceed with adding the Capri Plus, all right? All right, so everyone, one of the ways I like to treat too many yeast in the intestines is to use diflucan, 200 milligrams, 1 time a day for 30 days. I like to combine it with probiotics, and I also like to combine it with another yeast-killing agent like nystatin that you can't tolerate, okay? Now, I choose nystatin because often it's covered by insurance. It stays just in the intestinal tract. But if you can't tolerate it, then the other option that can work just as well as nystatin is to go an herbal option, which is this Capri Plus that you're talking about, which is a mixture of caprylic acid, pau d'arco, and it's got some garlic in it as well too, okay? 2 pills twice a day. That can work as well as nystatin. I like combining nystatin or a Capri Plus along with diflucan. The reason I do that is yeast learn resistance to diflucan pretty easily these days. And you can limit that from happening if you happen to have them take an additional yeast-killing agent along with the diflucan, okay? So that's why I would wind up doing that way, okay? All right? Now, if you're looking for other ways to kill yeast, everyone, let me just give you my regimens on that. I'm going to do a quick screen share here. All right, so this is back to, let's go here. So if you're looking for how would I approach treating various infections, take a look at my infection treatment plans section here in my Lyme disease treatment guide. And in here, you can find the article that I have about how to get rid of yeast. It's called Kills Yeast, a Brief Guide. Okay, and you'll see here I give a number of options. And the big one is combine an azole with nystatin. So diflucan is an azole. Nystatin I already told you about. I talk about other herbal options here as well too. I'll give you a number of ideas here. All right. All right, there you go. Eileen, I think that answered your question. I hope it did. Good luck to you. Hello, Christopher. Hi, Dr. Marty. Struggling with Lyme. Recently feel poisoned while taking Hutania. Seem to have all the symptoms of mast cell activation syndrome, nausea, shortness of breath, bone pain, insomnia, itching, etc. How long should I take lipocurcumin and quercetin? Should I stop all herbs and vitamins? When can I restart? Meanwhile, your store sent me Cytoquel, ATP 360 for extreme weakness, and ashwagandha. Can I take these while treating cell activation syndrome? Is it possible I'm not getting better, not because of infection, but that my immune system has become dysregulated caused by MCAS? Thanks for this. Okay, so first of all, Christopher, I'm sorry to hear all of this, first of all. So yes, you can take the Cytoquel and the ashwagandha while you're taking things to treat mast cell activation syndrome, okay? At this point, I am not, yes, it does sound like what you're saying, symptoms that could be consistent with mast cell activation syndrome, but as to why you're not getting better, as you know, I would suggest we probably do a visit, and I'd be glad to help you look at that. And I think that is something that you're working on. So I'd be glad to help look more extensively at this, okay? In terms of symptoms so mast cells, everyone, are a type of cell that historically in medicine we have thought is only being involved in allergies, okay? And inside mast cells are where histamines are made. If something that you are allergic to lands on a mast cell, then it causes release of all these histamines and you get allergic reactions. You get runny noses, you get hives, you get asthma flare-ups, so shortness of breath. Okay, that's allergy, all right? Now, we are now more aware, though, that these mast cells actually are not just machines that make histamines, that they actually produce large amounts of cytokines, and they can get turned on by infection. And so one of the things we're starting to see is that there's this world of people that have Lyme and co-infections, that the longer they have the Lyme and the co-infections, they start becoming reactive to everything. Probably what that means is that their mast cells have been turned on by the Lyme germs, okay? So the other thing we know about mast cell activations, once they get activated this way, is anything they get exposed, then you're going to become allergic acting to even things that might not have bothered you before, because your mast cells are so revved up to react that even things that are in your environment will start setting you off too, okay? One of the big things we see with mast cell activation syndrome that can be helpful is to de-stress. Now that's easy to say, I know, but anxiety, stress is one of the biggest stimulators of your mast cells, all right? So you need to remember to do those kind of things that you know help you de-stress. If that means taking a few deep breaths whenever you feel stressed, take your few deep breaths. If you know how to meditate, meditate. Or if you don't know how to meditate, learn to meditate. Anything you can do that will de-stress is going to help your mast cell activation syndrome, okay? Number two, you want to get on something that helps stabilize the covering of your mast cells, and so that they don't release these histamines so much. So those are called mast cell stabilizers, all right? One of those is quercetin that Christopher is talking about. And I usually would dose that at 250 milligrams, 2 pills, 3 times a day, okay? In addition, to stabilize those mast cells, I like adding something called luteolin, which is another bioflavonoid like quercetin that also stabilizes the mast cells, but they are different chemicals, so you can get an added benefit that way. They support each other in a sense, okay? So luteolin is found in a product that I carry called Neuroprotect. That's Neuro and then Protect, Protek. And that is a useful, that also can help. And I would do 1 pill 3 times a day or 2 pills twice a day on your Neuroprotect, okay? Neuroprotect has a little bit of quercetin in it, but just an insignificant amount. So you can combine it with the quercetin you're taking too, okay? Now, if that's not enough, sometimes we will wind up then adding antihistamines to this. So we could do like a Zyrtec, we could add to that, for instance, okay? And there's other steps you can take, but those are kind of the basic steps. The other thing I'll do with somebody that I think has mast cell activation is I might do a type of diet called an elimination diet, which strips out major groups of foods that a person might have food allergies to. So we remove those things that are stimulating their mast cells as well too, okay? All right, so let me show you an article you can take a look at, everyone. to help look at this idea of mast cell activation syndrome and ways you can treat it and what it is, so that you have that information. I'm going to do a screen share on that. All right, so I'm just going to type in mast cell here. Okay, so this is my explanation of mast cell activation. Okay, and I even got a video there of me. And then, but I would take a look at this. It gives you some very useful information. Okay, all right. All right, thanks for that question. Good luck. Hello, Karen. Let's see. What can you take tinctures with besides water? Can I use lemon water, apple juice, soup? Any other suggestions? I just can't handle the smell or effect on my system. It makes me feel ill. Also, are tinctures better than capsules? So I like tinctures better than capsules. I think you get a better extraction of the active ingredients in whatever herb you're trying to use. Okay, so that's the main reason I would wind up doing that. Okay, but yeah, ideally you'd want to take them in water, but if you can't, I think it's okay to mix them in other things. It's okay to put them in juices. It's okay to put them in lemon water. It's okay to do it those ways if you have to. Okay? All right. Good luck to you. Lauren, this is an interesting comment. See, Lauren says, I think my iPhone has Lyme. She won't cooperate. I appreciate that. I've never seen an iPhone infected with Lyme before. Viruses maybe, but not the Lyme bacterium. All right. Hello, CJ. Let's see. Thank you, Dr. Ross. What can you tell me about high dose melatonin, like 60 milligrams every 8 hours for neuroborreliosis? What are the pros and cons of melatonin? Gosh, I don't know about using it at that dose. I haven't experienced using it that before, and I haven't looked into it. I can't answer that question. You've got me stumped. I'll have to look into that a little bit more. All right. Very good. Thank you. Hello, Joyce. Hi, Dr. Ross. Just want to wish you a wonderful holiday. Wishing you the very best in 2020 as you get your practice up and running. No questions today. Perhaps I will be. You could have asked one question. Perhaps I will be able to make a trip to Seattle from Phoenix to see you at some point in the new year. Looking forward to the future webinars. Thank you again, Joyce. Thank you. I appreciate your kind words there. Thank you, and happy holidays to you. Hello, CJ again. Let's see. Hi, Dr. Ross. What are some ways to alkalize the body? Will alkaline water help? How much would it take? My urine pH possibly tests 5.4 to 5.6. Thank you. So, I don't know the quantity. So the idea with alkalization is that some people would argue that it might make it harder for germs to survive. Also, there's some arguments to be made that if you alkalize your body, that you'll have less Herxheimer reactions, for instance, too. Okay, now I've never really seen good benefit by attempts to alkalize, but I just want to let you know that's the theory behind it. Now, one way to do this is you could drink alkaline water. Another way to do it is to have foods that are recognized to be more alkaline foods. And if you want to see what those are, I would just Google alkaline diet. And so you'll find somebody's list about the kind of food you would want to have that fall into that list that will make you less acidic and more basic or more alkaline. Okay. To be honest, I don't know how much it takes to move you with the alkaline water. I couldn't comment on what's going to be an effective way to do that. Okay. All right. I will tell you, I've tried doing the alkalization with my patients before, and I've just never found good benefit, which is why I'm not going to be a good source here, because I stopped trying to do it because I just didn't see it give me any meaningful real changes in how people are doing. Okay? All right. Good luck to you. Lisa, you've written a very, very long question. In fact, it's so long, I can't answer it in this kind of a format because it'll take me forever to read it. And if I actually post it for people to see, it's going to lock up my computer screen. If you would like to, you could rewrite this question and send it to me to my email address, and I will try to answer it probably tomorrow. My email that you would send it to is docmarty, DOCMARTY, at Marty Ross MD, that's the letter M, the letter D.com. Okay. That's what I would do with that. It's just too much in that question for me to deal with. Okay. All right. Thank you. Hello, Judy. Let's see here. My husband is getting a little foggy brain, forgetful. Sometimes he can't focus. Any supplements for early possible dementia? So usually, yes and yes. I'm trying to think how to answer your question. So there's one thing we're starting to realize. There's a physician out in California named Bredesen that has come up with something called the Bredesen protocol for people that have dementia. Okay. And what Bredesen basically his protocol deals with is he recognizes that dementia can come from inflammation in the brain, and that inflammation can come from infections like Lyme, can come from infections like yeast in your intestines, and that inflammation also can come from toxins building up as well too. Okay, so the major focuses of the Bredesen protocol are dealing with getting a low inflammatory diet, trying to look for and treating for infections that might be there, and then also doing some basic detox work. Okay, all right. The other part of the Bredesen protocol is looking at what things you can take to support good nerve function and also to support mitochondria function. All right. So let me talk about mitochondria real quick. So mitochondria are the energy factories in every one of our cells. And sometimes as we age, we wear down our mitochondria, and then your nerves don't have enough energy to function. Okay. So a starting point that I like to do when I have somebody that has dementia starting, I like to do things to support good nerve function and mitochondria as kind of a basic part of it. While I also look to see, do we have toxin buildup? Do we have a Lyme infection? Do we have too many yeast in the intestines? Do we have chronic mycoplasma or chronic chlamydia infections? Do we have mold toxins floating around in their body? Okay, I'm going to look at all that. Okay, but while I'm waiting to get those answers, the key parts I would do for dementia are, number one, knock down inflammation. And the way that I would do that is I would use curcumin, 500 milligrams 3 times a day. I like using a liposomal formula. And liposomal curcumin, a product I like is a Thorne Mariva 500. Okay, and I carry that at my supplement store as well too. Okay. Number two, I'd like to do mitochondria and nerve cell membrane repair. I like to use a product by Research Nutritionals called ATP 360. It has in it the fats that make up your nerve cell membrane so they can repair. It also has in it fats that make up the mitochondria, your cell energy factory membranes that can get damaged with age, okay? And the way you take the ATP 360 is 3 pills 1 time a day. Now, be aware, don't get confused with an older product called ATP Fuel. You want to do the ATP 360, which is easier to take than the ATP Fuel, which used to be 5 pills twice a day. This is easier. This is 3 pills 1 time a day, okay? All right, so knock inflammation down with your curcumin. Then you want to go ahead and do some nerve cell membrane repair, mitochondria membrane repair with that ATP 360, okay? Number 3, get on some coenzyme Q10. And you want to do 400 milligrams twice a day. What CoQ10 does, it's a good antioxidant, but it helps move electrons around your mitochondria so they create cell fuel better, okay? 400 milligrams twice a day on that, okay? Number 4, get on glutathione. Get on a liposomal glutathione. Liposomal glutathione, which means glutathione that's microscopically wrapped in fat. The product I like for that is Trifortify by Research Nutritionals. It's got good studies that show that it actually does lead to increased absorption and gets the product into your cells. Okay, all right. If you use a non-liposomal variety of glutathione, it's probably not that well absorbed, and so you're not getting any benefit from it. So you want to use a liposomal variety. All right. Now, why use glutathione? Well, glutathione helps with two things. It helps the body detox, so in case you got toxins building up. Okay. Secondly, what it does is it's a very powerful antioxidant that actually is made in every one of our cells, and its purpose is to repair damage. Okay, so if you got dementia, you got some nerve damage going on. All right, and so what you want to do is that I like doing then is to give a 5 milliliters or a teaspoonful one time a day. Okay, all right. Then the last thing I would consider doing if you're vegetarians, if you don't eat any red meat, would be to get on something called acetyl L-carnitine. Carnitine is a chemical or a protein that is used to carry fat from the outside of your mitochondria into the inside of the mitochondria, where it can be burned into cell fuel. So in other words, it's a transport truck that brings fuel into the mitochondria. And if you're eating vegetarian, you don't get red meat, you're probably deficient in it. So you don't have enough trucks to bring the fuel into the mitochondria. Okay. All right. All right. Finally, the other thing that I would look at doing is falls into the diet realm. And there's two parts to this. I would look at using a paleo type diet, but more of a plant-based paleo diet. So yes, protein, yes, fats, but really emphasize the vegetable part of thing and not have the beans and legumes, for instance, okay? And as part of that, I would also do a process called intermittent fasting. And that can look like basically having your lunch and having dinner and not having breakfast, all right? So you're fasting through the morning hours. What intermittent fasting does is it causes the brain to make a chemical called brain-derived neurotropic factor, which helps promote nerve growth, okay? So that's why you want to do intermittent fasting, all right? All right, so what would I do again? Number 1, curcumin to get inflammation down. Number 2, repair the membrane of the nerve cells with ATP 360. Number 3, get on some CoQ10, 400 milligrams twice a day. Number 4, get on some glutathione to repair your nerves from the inside and to help with detox. Number 6, I think we're up to, I would use acetyl L-carnitine if you're a vegetarian. And then the last thing is fix your diet by getting on a very organic, paleo, heavy vegetable diet. And as part of that, do intermittent fasting. Okay? All right. So let me show you some resources on all this. Oh, and then finally, you got to go looking for toxins. You got to go looking for infections. You got to see if there's something else setting this all off. Okay? All right. All right. Let's see here. Okay. So let's take a look at... So I'm going to look at diet and my nutrition chapter here. Somewhere it is. There it is. Okay, so the paleo type diet I like is this one here, and it actually has documents in it that come to me to share with you by a group called the Institute for Functional Medicine. Okay, and it's called their Mito Food Plan. If you read through here, I tell you how to do it. I give you the documents you have to put together your own diet, including how do you figure out how many calories you have, etc. And I lead you through the steps to do it. And there's a bunch of documents that you can download here from the Institute for Functional Medicine, okay? It is their Mito Food Plan and has built into it steps to do intermittent fasting as part of it too, okay? All right. The other thing to take a look at, these other supplements that I said to do, take a look at my chapter on brain and nerves. And then you want to look at this one that is called My Brain Isn't Working, I Think, What Can I Do? All right. And this is my approach to basically dementia, and tells you what kind of things to look at doing. Okay. All right. All right. There you go. Judy, that's a lot, but fixing dementia is not a simple thing. Okay. All right. Good luck. Hello, Marta. Let's see. Dear Dr. Ross, I have one additional question about neuropathic pain. Would you recommend any specific painkillers, or is there any particular product you recommend for neuropathic pain on the face? So for nerve pain, number one, try to fix the cause. Okay, so if it's Lyme or it's Bartonella or it's your mold toxins irritating your nerves, make sure you address those. Okay, number two, get on an anti-inflammatory that will deal with infection inflammation. So I would look at doing your curcumin. I would do the liposomal curcumin. Again, I like Thorn Mariva 500. And you could do anywhere from 500 milligrams 3 times a day all up to 1,000 milligrams 3 times a day. Okay. The other herbal thing you could do is to try to decrease nerve transmission of pain. And what can be helpful with that is using a component of green tea, which is not caffeine. It's not caffeine, but it's a product. It's an amino acid-like chemical called L-theanine. L-theanine gets absorbed into the brain and is converted to a chemical called GABA. And if you give more GABA to parts of the brain that are called GABA benzodiazepine receptors, they actually can decrease nerve pain. Okay. So for instance, pharmaceuticals we use to decrease nerve pain, like seizure medicines like gabapentin or Lyrica, all bind to the benzodiazepine GABA receptor, which is what L-theanine's product GABA binds to. Okay. All right. Now, you can dose L-theanine. It comes in a 100 milligram pill. So it's L-theanine, Theanine. You can dose it. It comes in a 100 milligram pill. And you can do it as, you can start at 1 to 2 pills 3 times a day. And you can go all the way up to 4 pills 3 times a day. I won't go over 1,200 milligrams. There are some science that says that above that, you might start triggering cancer. Okay. I mean, significantly higher doses than that, but you don't want to do that. Okay. The other reason that you have to be careful about it is it may be sedating if you take it in the daytime too. But those are some thoughts for you too. Okay. Now, the other thing you can sometimes do, and if that doesn't work, then you could look at doing prescription nerve pain medicines like gabapentin, like Lyrica, sometimes using low doses of antidepressant medicines like amitriptyline or nortriptyline can be helpful as well too. And they're basically changing the nerve transmission of that pain. Another thing you could look at doing for neuropathic pain is to do CBD oil or medical marijuana. All right. What's the difference between CBD and medical marijuana? Well, CBD is technically, they all come from a similar plant, the cannabis plant, okay? But CBD oil is basically classified as such if it has less than 0.03%. I think it's actually 0.3%. Actually, let's look at this together. 0.3% THC in it. And so THC is the part of marijuana that gives you the high, all right? But THC is actually quite useful at managing nerve pain. CBD can too. If you're in a medical marijuana state, you probably want to go to your bud store or you see your bud keeper at your marijuana store and ask them for something that is a mix of CBD and THC to manage that nerve pain. If that mix makes you too sleepy in the daytime, then you'd use a mix of high THC at night, and you'd use something that predominantly is more CBD in the daytime. But those are some things to take a look at as well too, okay? So let me show you an article about that. All right, so take a look. I probably have it in my pain chapter. Let's see if that's where I put it. Yep, there it is. So there's my medical marijuana article, all right? And again, I have to just remind myself of what makes it officially CBD. Yeah, so it has to have less than 0.3% THC to be called CBD, okay? All right, but read this article. It talks to you about how do you work with it, how many times a day do you dose it, and definitely nerve pain is one of those things that this either THC, CBD, or a combination of both can be quite helpful. Okay? All right. Marta, thank you for that question. Good luck to you. All right, this is going to be a long question, but I think it will fit. Yes, it will. Okay, here we go. Hello, Maria. Let's see. Hello, Dr. Ross. And Endless, thank you for all that you do. Thanks for saying so. My main question is really, are internal vibrations in Lyme and Bart usually intermittent? If so, why? What is happening? Below, some personal background with a question at the end to read if time allows. I got Lyme and possibly Bartonella from my boyfriend in 2014 when we tried to get pregnant, and he still had not received treatment. My symptoms have been tolerable. I had 1 month of doxy about a year after I was infected. Symptoms have come and gone. Symptoms mostly consist in sore, slightly burning skin and light intermittent shooting pains on the inside of my lower arms and feet. Sometimes I feel well for weeks between flares. I started treating with angiographics, alicinin, Japanese knotweed cascalatoba 2 or 3 months ago. I added cryptolepis about a month ago. During this time, a completely new symptom arose. I started having internal vibrations in my lower left leg. They disappear a few days later, then come back for a day, then disappear. 2 months later, they reappear. Now I've had them for a few days. I think I feel some in my left arm as well. Do you think this could be Bart? If so, why now after many years? From what so can remember, this is the only symptom that hasn't been there from the beginning. I've been tested for different autoimmunosis, but they were all negative. Okay, so everyone, I tend to think, so Bartonella is known, Lyme and Bartonella can give a lot of neurologic symptoms, okay? But one symptom that I have found very peculiar to Bartonella is a feeling of internal buzzing or vibrating. It just has been my observation, okay? So I would say that probably that internal buzzing, and my practice, you were saying me, I probably would treat you for Bartonella. I will tell you at this point, I don't see you as being on anything that treats Bartonella. So endographis is going to be Lyme. Alicinin is probably more Lyme. Japanese knotweed is more Lyme. Cat's claw, toba bark are Lyme. Cryptolepis is going to be Babesia. I don't see you as being on anything here that is a Bartonella antimicrobial. If you're looking for herbal ideas to treat Bartonella, I like using Sida acuta and Hutania, and you can find information how to use those in my Bartonella treatment article, okay? But so I don't see you as doing that right now. Now, can Bartonella remain dormant and the symptoms remain under control for a while? Absolutely. The Bartonella is another germ that the immune system sometimes can deal with and may lose the battle. And then you start getting more Bartonella type symptoms. The thing you want to look at is to see, do you have other Bartonella symptoms, not just vibrations, okay? And so take a look at the article I have about how do you diagnose Bartonella. In there, I have a list of symptoms that are highly suggestive of Bartonella, okay? All right, so I take a look at that. Those symptoms generally are going to be a pain on the balls of the feet, neurologic signs, of which buzzing can be one of those, but you can have neuropathies, you can have weakness, you can have numbness. But again, the vibration tends to be very peculiar for Bartonella. Sometimes people with Bartonella have a lot of neuropsych issues like anxiety or depression. So if those have been a big part of this for you, then there's reason to start thinking about Bartonella as part of this as well too. Undescribed or abdominal pain for which you cannot find an adequate description or explanation sometimes can indicate Bartonella. Bartonella also is known to give you rashes that look like scratch or stretch marks, okay? So just look at those and see if you have enough that says Bartonella that way, okay? All right. I think that answers your question. I hope it does at least. Good luck to you. Karen, just to clarify, so Karen says, I think I missed something. You said there is no good test for yeast. I also thought you said there was an organic acid test called arabinose, which is pretty reliable at determining if there are too many yeast. Yes, I think I may have confused you. I may not be clear enough in my response. So there is not an effective stool test for yeast, okay? So If we were to do stool cultures, we might see yeast living in there or we might not, but that testing is not really definitive for whether you truly have too many yeast or not. I don't find it reliable. There's another blood test you can do. Sometimes doctors will test for antibodies for yeast, but yeast live in our intestines, even in healthy people. So of course you're going to have antibodies. So having antibodies does not tell you whether they're growing too much. So I don't like doing antibody testing for yeast either. Okay. All right. So the only reliable test I have found then is the urine organic acid for arabinose. Okay. All right. Thanks for the question. Hello, David. Hi, Dr. Ross. I have seen a prominent LMD who ordered a brain MRI. As a result of the MRI, I suspect, since I have never had these issues before, I started having strange muscular issues with my hands and fingers, as well as arthritic issues in certain joints of my fingers. I read about gadolinium toxicity, and since I am MTFR gene homozygous, I suspect this may have allowed the dye to stay in my system. The same LMD used a differential diagnosis to diagnose me with Lyme and Bartonella. I have also suspected ehrlichiosis as a tick that bit me, was sent off, and tested positive for ehrlichiosis. Since I have my records and reports, recent blood results, etc., would you suggest a web consult for me or just schedule an appointment? I do live across the country from you, but would travel to see you after reading your articles and getting to watch and participate in your wonderfully productive and appreciated webinars. So David, thank you. I'm glad you're finding my stuff helpful. I'm glad that everyone does. My mission is to help people. As I put that stuff out there to help, because I realize we lack a lot of doctors that can help. And one of the reasons I put that stuff out there, that I put so much out, is I'm hoping that people will bring information to their doctors to get them to start working on Lyme as well too. Okay. And so bring these articles in, print them off, bring them in. I think that's a great thing to do, but I'm glad you're getting some help from that. So there's two ways you could work with me. Number one, I offer a type of visit, which is called a limited consult service visit. Second way is to do a type of visit, which I call a full medical service visit. Okay. The big difference between those two visits is in a full medical service visit, I visit with you in office at least one time. I prefer at least 2 times a year to do it that way, but to visit with you in office at least one time and examine you. And once I've examined you, I have established a full medical relationship with you in the eyes of my medical board in Washington State, and therefore I can prescribe and I can order test. Okay. Under the limited consult service visit, where I just visit with you by phone or using a telemedicine portal that I have, because I never physically examine you, I cannot order test and I cannot order medicines for you. I, however, can still recommend. I can recommend herbs for you to take. I can recommend prescription medicines for you to take. I can even recommend tests for you to take, but you'll have to find a prescribing physician to actually do all of those things for you, okay? So if you have good relationships with other doctors out there that could take my ideas and run with them and do prescriptions if we need to do prescriptions, then we could just do this with the limited consult service, okay? But if you don't think you have somebody who's going to reliably be able to enact the ideas that I have if they require prescriptions, and that kind of a situation, I would come on out at least one time so we can do things, okay? Now, after you come out at least one time and I examine you, then we can do follow-ups using my telemedicine video portal, or we can do those by phone visits. But again, at least twice a year, I prefer to see people in office because I still learn things by examining people as well too, okay? So for those of you that might be interested in either one of those options, let me show you where you can read more, see what required forms I have, and even set up your appointment. I'm gonna do a quick screen share to show that to you. Okay, so this is my practice website. It's Marty Ross at martyrossmd.com. It's Marty Ross MD Healing Arts, okay? And there's lots of things you can read about me here. You can look at my homepage. You can take a look at my story, like how the heck did I get back here to Seattle? You can take a look at the services I offered. But right here on this appointments page, you click here, And you'll see here that you can actually book my full medical service visit or my limited consult service by clicking this book now button, okay? But I also would point out, take a look at this thing here that says required forms, okay? See the visit descriptions below for links to the forms that new clients must submit at least 2 days before the visits, all right? All right, so you want to come down, you're going to scroll down here and you're going to either read about my full medical service or you're going to read about my limited consult service. I describe the cost, I describe how these visits work. And in both of these, there's a section about what forms do you fill out, okay? All right. All right. Now, regarding the telemedicine clinic, if you want to do that with me, you would come up here after you book your appointment. And the day before your appointment, I urge everyone, go and click this Go Now button, which will take you to the website so you can set up to do the telemedicine clinic at the time of the appointment. All right. Hope that gives you a lot of useful information. I really put a lot of information into these descriptions that tell you cost and how it works. So read through here. But I will tell you, if we don't have enough information for you here, feel free to give my clinic a call and we'd be glad to talk with you more about these visits. Okay? All right. David, I'd be honored to help you figure out which way is going to work best for you. Okay? All right. Thank you for that question, too. Hello, Irina. Let's see, one more question. Dr. Ross, what do you think about glutathione IV? Do you find it helpful? So I like glutathione, and I'll talk about IV glutathione. I like glutathione for a number of reasons. Number one, it's a strong antioxidant that helps lower cytokines. And I've already talked tonight about cytokines. The problem with cytokines is they give you all your symptoms, but if you make too many cytokines, they also suppress your immune system. So you want to do what you can to lower cytokines, okay? Glutathione coupled with curcumin is a good way to do that, okay? Second reason I like using glutathione is to support detox. It's the main detox chemical used by the liver, okay? Third reason I like using glutathione is glutathione can help repair injury to tissues, okay? All right. So it can help repair injury to your nerves and it can repair injury to your liver, for instance, if you have liver inflammation, okay? So those are the big reasons I like using glutathione, all right? Now, in terms of glutathione, there's chances of something having benefit that increase depending on your success at getting into the blood. So regular glutathione, not that well absorbed. But you can use a liposomal form of glutathione, and liposomal glutathione, which is glutathione that's microscopically wrapped in fat, can get well absorbed into your blood. Okay, so the products I like using for that is something called Trifortify by Research Nutritionals. They got great studies that show increase glutathione inside of your red blood cells by people that use their products. So it is absorbed well, okay? But still in some people, that's not going to be good enough. So the next strongest way we can get it into your blood would be to do nebulized breathing treatments of glutathione, okay? When you breathe in glutathione through your lungs, it gets absorbed right into the blood vessels in your lungs, and that is a reasonable way to do glutathione. And you can take anywhere from 200 to 400 milligrams breathed in using this mist machine called a nebulizer. And it would have to be made by a compounding pharmacy, but you put this liquid into a chamber, air blows over it, creates a cloud, and you breathe it in. Okay, that's a nebulizer. And that can be quite an effective way of getting glutathione into your system too. But the actual strongest way to get glutathione in is IV glutathione, okay? Situations where I'm going to use IV glutathione is if I got somebody that's having just huge hercs and we can't turn it around easily, I'm going to use IV glutathione. It's a quick way of turning a hercs around, okay? I'm going to use IV glutathione if I've got somebody on antabuse that is really herxing bad, for instance. I might do it there. I might use it also if I got somebody herxing bad on dapsone. I might use IV glutathione to help me there too, okay? Because it can really turn things around quickly. I also will use IV glutathione in situations where I got somebody with a lot of nerve injury and the basic approaches we're using are not helping. I might use IV glutathione in those situations too, okay? So let me show you an article where I write about glutathione, all the good stuff it does, and tells you exactly how to dose depending on the method that you're using to take it. Let me do a screen share here for that. All right, so back in my Lyme information site, just type glutathione in here. All right, so this article called Glutathione, the Great Fixer, okay? And so I think I pretty much talked about the various things that it would do. But down here at the bottom, I talk about the different ways to do it. So you can do the liposomal glutathione. You can do precursors that raise it. So like N-acetylcysteine is a building block for glutathione. You can do glutathione using a nebulizer, or you can use glutathione by IV administration. And I talk about the doses that I like to do it in there. Okay. All right. Good luck to you. Thanks for the question. Hello, Daniel. Hold on here just a minute. I got to get a sip of water. All right. Hi, doctor. What is the best drug to get into the brain other than minocycline, i.e. high-dose ceftriaxone, high-dose IV, or which is the best way to get Lyme bugs out of the brain? Thanks. So, all antibiotics to some degree will cross into the brain, some better than others, okay? One of the more assured ways to get things into the brain is to put high levels of it into your blood vessels, and one of the ways to do that is an IV form of antibiotics, all right? Another way to build up high levels of drugs in your blood vessels is to do butt muscle injections, because those butt muscle injections get absorbed right into your bloodstream too, all right? And one of my favorite ones to do is to do something, a form of penicillin called Biocidin LA, which stands for long-acting, which will build up pretty steady levels of bicillin in your blood. Now, LA is basically long-acting. There's another form called CR, which is continuous release. I do not like the CR variety. I just don't find it works that well. I like the long-acting variety better. The way this stuff works is the Biocidin LA, you do a butt muscle injection about 3 times a week with at least a day between each injection. And it literally leaves a deposit of medicine in your butt muscle. And from that deposit, it's like a bank of the medicine. It kind of just slowly gets into your bloodstream, okay? But that's one way to do it, okay? And then finally, the other way I like to try to get IV equivalent doses of antibiotics is to use very, very high doses of oral amoxicillin, which is a penicillin. And I got that idea from Dr. Ken Ligner, Dr. Ken Ligner being the doctor that published first about his success treating with antabuse, that Dr. Ligner. Dr. Ligner has also pioneered the idea of doing high-dose amoxicillin. And he did it on a lot of his patients with multiple sclerosis and found good results in those that had multiple sclerosis caused by Lyme, which means it's got to be getting into the brain. If you're using if it's helping multiple sclerosis, it's getting in the brain, okay? So the way you do high-dose amoxicillin is you take a 500 milligram pill and you use up to 4 of those 3 times a day. Okay, now let me put this in perspective. Usually when we use amoxicillin, we're going to dose it for respiratory infections. We're going to dose it at 500 milligrams 3 times a day, all right? And usually when we're going to use it for Lyme, we may dose it at 500 milligrams, 2 pills 3 times a day. So what I just said was to do it 4 pills 3 times a day. Okay, that's whopping doses of amoxicillin. I got to tell you, I've had a number of people I've been able to get into remission with their multiple sclerosis doing it. I found that in my practice. I've had some people that were on IV antibiotics that we weren't getting anywhere, and I put them on the high doses of oral amoxicillin. That's the thing that flipped the switch for them. That's the thing that worked for them, okay? So that's another way to go about doing it, all right? So I hope that gives you some ideas. I'm going to just show you a quick screen share here so you can look at that information a little bit more on your own. Take a look at the article. Take a look at the article in my infection treatment plan section here. Take a look at my Lyme disease antibiotic guide. Scroll all the way down here to the bottom, and you're going to see a section that says special considerations. And in here, I talk about IV equivalent treatments, where I talk about the bicillin I just told you about, and I talk about the amoxicillin as well too. Okay? All right. All right. Thanks for the question, Daniel. Hello, Judy. Let's see. Can you explain how lithium orotate helps with anxiety? All right. So lithium, everyone. Many of you may know of lithium from our use in psychiatric medicine for treating something called bipolar illness, or which is also known as manic depression. Okay. Now I want to talk to you now. So it can calm an agitated nervous system, but in those illnesses, it's used at like 600 to 900 milligrams a day. All right. And that product is something called lithium carbonate. This is lithium orotate that you're talking about. Lithium orotate is a supplement that comes in a 5 milligram pill, and you're going to dose it at 5 milligrams 3 times a day. You might even work up to 10 milligrams 3 times a day. Okay, so you're talking 15 milligrams to 30 milligrams a day versus psychiatric dosing of 600 to 900 milligrams. Okay, so I want to be clear. When I'm talking about lithium orotate, I am not talking about using it the way we would in manic depression or bipolar illness. All right. All right, so lithium orotate at 5 milligrams 3 times a day is a nutrient. It is a key mineral that your nerves need to function correctly. And if we give this to nerves, it actually has an ability to calm an agitated nervous system, even at that low dose, okay? The other thing that it's shown to do is it can actually help improve cognitive function, your thinking abilities. Finally, it actually is nerve protective. It can help prevent toxin damage to your nerves, all right? So I like using it if I got people having a hard time thinking. Sometimes I'll use it. I will use it if I've got people with anxiety, that's just low-grade anxiety. It will sometimes be helpful for that as well, too. Again, it's a key nutrient and is essential for nerve cell function. Okay, so that's probably how it's working, all right? And then I use it for thinking. Oh, and then finally, the third thing I use it for sometimes if I'm doing toxin protection, I sometimes will use it for that purpose too. Okay, so lithium orotate 5 milligram pill. Okay, all right, and that doesn't require a prescription either. Thanks for that question. Hello, Lisa. Let's see. Thank you for your offering to answer my earlier questions over email tomorrow. Greatly appreciate. You are the best. You're welcome. Let's see. In the meantime, a question for you about antibiotics. If switching off minocycline due to possible intolerance and instead pairing rifampin with doxycycline for Bartonella and Lyme, does Dorix have same efficacy as other forms of doxycycline? And do you have patients tolerate doxy better for sensitive stomachs? Okay to take DGL licorice right before taking antibiotics to help abdominal issues. Does it impact antibiotic absorption? And is rifampin harder on the stomach, i.e. more or less challenging than doxy-mino? Thank you. So in terms of the tetracyclines as a group can be irritating to the stomach, unfortunately. And I find in my experience is that doxy is more irritating than minocycline is. Okay, so I don't know if you're going to have any better luck switching over to doxy than what you had with the mino, all right? Of the 3 antibiotics, doxy, minocycline, rifampin, the tetracyclines, the doxy and the mino, would be much more irritating than the rifampin. But in an occasional person, rifampin is irritating too, okay? We're all very individual. We're individual laboratories in terms of how things work for us, okay? In terms of the licorice, it is okay to take the licorice. I have not found it to impair antibiotic absorption, and it sometimes is the way that you can get it so people can tolerate taking these antibiotics, okay? So there's no problem in doing that, okay? All right. Now, you may want to consider, given that you've got so much stomach irritation, is just coming off the tetracyclines altogether and instead pair your rifampin either with azithromycin or pair your rifampin with a clarithromycin, okay? The clarithromycin dosing will be 500 milligrams twice a day. The azithromycin, zithromax dosing would be 500 milligrams 1 time a day, okay? All right, so those are some insights for you. Good luck with this, okay? All right. Hello, Lisa. Again, let's see. Also, you mentioned taking thorn curcumin for cytokine inflammations a few times a night. When do you recommend research nutritional cytoquil versus thorns liposomal curcumin? I generally will look at, so the Research Nutritional Cytoquel is a good product. It basically has in it other anti-inflammatory herbs. So it's got a mix of curcumin, resveratrol, black sea extract, some quercetin in it as well too. My preference generally in how I work is to not use combination products. And the reason is that I often find with combination products, if something goes haywire, you can't figure out which one it is, all right? Over time, I have seen better results for my average patients using the curcumin than Cytoquel. I have used Cytoquel before, but when the curcumin is not working well enough, I will try Cytoquel. And the reason I will do it is maybe in some people, the combinations of those anti-cytokine herbs are better than what the curcumin alone would be. All right. So it's kind of hit or miss. It all depends on the person, basically. All right. All right. Good luck to you. Hello, Karen. Let's see. I have Lyme, Bart, Babesia, and Ehrlichia. Right now, with all my psychiatric problems and nerve pain, etc., I have been treating Bartonella. I'm taking Bactrim and minocycline and amoxicillin. Can I take Sida acuta and Hutania at the same time as taking the antibiotics? Any other suggestions? So, first of all, Karen, I'm sorry to hear how you're doing, first of all. But secondly, the minocycline coupled with Bactrim can be a Bartonella treatment. I think rifampin, maybe if you could add rifampin in, get rid of that Bactrim, that might be a stronger way of going after Bartonella. But minocycline Bactrim can be a Bartonella treatment. If you also want to make that stronger and not have to put rifampin in, what you could do is add a Sida acuta and a Hutania. At the same time you're taking those other antibiotics. I have done that before with patients, and I have no problem seeing them tolerate that, okay? Your amoxicillin, minocycline, and Bactrim can go after Lyme, okay? But the specific minocycline Bactrim combo is going to be more, also will target Bartonella. So you have an adequate treatment, but you can strengthen it possibly by doing a Sida acuta and a Hutania with that, okay? All right. Good luck to you. Oh, already did that one. Hold on here. Let's see. Hello, Mary. Let's see. Finding you is one of the best gifts of my almost 70, I think you probably mean 7 decades. Bless you and thank you. I do every day. Happy holidays and New Year. Our online visit helps me so much in so many ways. Look forward to seeing you in person in 2020. Thank you, Mary, and happy holidays to you. That's a nice way to finish up tonight. Actually, that's the last comment. You guys, I went through every question tonight. That's rare, but again, we had a small turnout because it's holiday time right now. So anyway, everyone, happy holidays. I hope everyone in the holidays, if you're all traveling, I hope it goes safely. And for those of you who got a family coming in, I hope you enjoy them as well too. I'm actually off to Fort Wayne, Indiana next week to see my mom, and who's in assisted living, but we're breaking her out one day for her holiday tradition, which is she likes to go gambling up in Michigan. So that's what I'm going to be doing on Christmas Day. And she likes going up there because she can have brunch, because no other place in Fort Wayne, Indiana does, but the casino does. So anyhow, that's where I will be. I'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Tomorrow morning, keep an eye out for your in your emails for the email saying that the video recording is edited and ready to go. I also will have a sign up for the next set of webinars that begin in January. Okay. All right. Happy holidays, everyone. Bye-bye. And thanks for being here tonight.